noticed.
They started this shit. They want to finish it.
That's when you have in
This is why they don't let me in the
1985.
documentary, because I take things a little too far.
Yeah, a little bit. I could totally see you talking to like just some old timer, and they're just like, aha!
Then you burn that motherfucking place down.
That's right.
No, I didn't. No, that never happened. Then in 1985, there was a fist fight on the streets of Wisconsin.
In
Gary
84,
Gygax with some brass knuckles that were all D's.
All D's. Why all D's?
Dungeons and Dragons. Hey everybody, and welcome to yet another down roll. Cause we don't stop. And it's down rolling. So it's hard to stop that forward momentum once you get it going.
There you go. Oh, look at that. That was cool. I'm coming right at you.
It did.
It did, right?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Anyway, I'm Adam. This is Will DM. And today we're talking about the evolution of superhero role-playing games.
Indubitably.
So we are taking a step away from the Dungeons and the Dragons, and we're moving into superheroes. Who doesn't like superheroes, man?
There are people that don't.
They're crazy.
And I like my superheroes gaudy. You know what I mean? Like these modern versions of superheroes with all they're wearing is leather and hoodies and shit. No, give me colorful costumes. That's what I'm all about.
So you're the Liberace of superheroes.
Yes, I am. I will twirl my cape and play my piano.
There we go. So, when did superhero RPGs get on that tabletop role-playing scene?
That's a good question. Now, I have made some
It would have
notes.
been great if you said, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And that would be the end of that.
Yeah.
We'd have to sheepishly just go to the end credits at that point.
Basically, the first superhero game comes out, and like I said, if I'm looking down, it's because I did make notes for this one.
Look.
You just ruined the image of
right.
me.
You don't want to look behind the curtain, right? So if you're at a restaurant.
Yeah, I don't want to see him cook it.
You don't want to go back in that kitchen.
No, you don't. I've known people that worked in the kitchens, and yes, you do not want to go back there.
I've worked in the kitchens.
Yes.
I wasn't
so
a
you know.
chef, but I was a waiter.
Oh, waiter. Anyway, so it's 1978. No, I'm pretty sure it's 78, 77 or 78.
It was a dark and stormy night. 1978 it was.
The name of the game was Superhero 2044.
Wow.
Yes.
It was a futuristic.
It was. It was basically based off of the Legion of Superheroes from DC, where it's in the future and it's a big group of superheroes, so forth and so on. That's the first one. And believe it or not, you'll find this funny because when I found out about it, I thought it was funny. The first superhero game actually had no superpowers.
Huh. I don't know if that's funny or sad. Like, it's funny
right?
for the people that made it as like, here's a joke. So what was it?
It was essentially what they did is
because I'd be pissed off if I were going to play a superhero RPG that had no superpowers.
Well, now keep in mind this was like a pamphlet book.
I don't care.
Yeah, I understand. So basically,
I like superheroes on my pamphlets, on my flyers, on my brochures.
Right, like a lot of games that were coming out. Okay, so you got original D&D comes out in 74, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then you start having to see other games start popping up, after that, most of which are D&D clones.
Sure.
Okay, where they're building off of the rules of D&D. Now,
yeah, you got something that
I'm
works.
sort of it's like yes and no. Here's one of the things, because like the second role-playing game, Tunnels and Trolls, is not a D&D clone.
That was a real thing.
Oh yeah, it still is. It's still in print.
What?
Yeah, Ken St. Andre, man.
Say what?
And so, but a lot of the smaller presses and a lot of other games that you saw that were popping up were essentially they used the D&D rules and just built off of them. That's the same thing with what they did with Superhero 2044. They just used the D&D rules. And then what happened is when they came to superpowers, they literally said, talk to your dungeon master and figure it out. That was the rule.
Because we can't.
Yeah.
So let's hope someone else can.
Yeah. So that is the first.
So
game.
what did they have? Like was it like just a sci-fi
story? Essentially, it was essentially what it is they gave you the basic rules, which were basically rules that are like any other D&D or type of role-playing game, except it didn't have it talked about superheroes, it talked about supervillains and superhero groups, and it was basically a window dressing. But the most important part,
sounds like they just
no superpowers. Yeah, pretty much. It was somebody who really wanted to play superheroes, but obviously wasn't a game designer. They weren't somebody who. So what they did is they took and they borrowed, and of course, I have not done any of the research as I should to be able to drop names or whatnot.
We don't expect you to research anything. There's a certain amount of information that's in your head already.
Yeah.
I feel like, because this is like the 14th episode, I think this is.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've burned through easily 75% of that information.
Totally. That's why I got to replace it.
And the rest is
going to push some other stuff out.
Games. I'm talking about total information we've gone through. That's why we're on to superhero shit now, because he's gone through all of this other info when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. But so that's the first one, Superhero 2044, and then you don't see the next superhero game, which is an actual superhero game, is Villains and Vigilantes.
Whoa, that's a cool name.
Villains and Vigilantes from Fantasy Games Unlimited. One of the designers is Jeff D, and I know that means nothing to you.
No, I know Chuck D.
Yeah, well,
it would be if Chuck,
hell yeah. If Chuck D did it, that'd be awesome.
Designers, I would totally play that game.
But Jeff D is one of the, I guess you could call him first generation D&D artists. If you were to see his artwork, you would totally recognize it.
You don't know that.
Like, yeah, I would. You wouldn't know who it was that did it, but you'd go, "Oh,
like how? Yeah. What kind of what was his artwork in?"
Everything, deities and demigods, the slavers. I gotta have a picture of his stuff up here.
I started in second edition. Anything in second edition?
No, he's a first edition.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know shit about shit.
But it's classic. You would have to know this guy's stuff.
Do you think so?
I am sorely lacking in my.
I'm not the historian that you are.
You're not. But anyway, Jeff D.
I'm just here for the laughs.
I can't remember the other dude's name. They put together Villains and Vigilantes. Now that's the first real actual superhero game. Has some trimmings to it that remind people. You have to understand one of the things that just about every role-playing game had back in the day were the 6 stats. That seemed to be like the number one thing that they ripped off of everybody was the strength, wisdom, intelligence.
And that's still today, I think, is pretty much.
And a lot
some of them have different names for them, but it's essentially the same shit.
Yeah. But this one had powers. It had your ability to manufacture things. It was a full-fledged actual superhero role-playing game, and it did rather well. One of the problems with it is the crunchiness of it. But at the time, when it was the only kid,
God damn that word.
Yeah. crunchy. Next thing I know, I'm going to throw in Grognard here in a minute.
I know. Like, just say rules heavy.
Crunchy.
I know.
Or here, I'll do it like this. Like, it was rules heavy. What is known in the biz as crunchy. How about that? Was that
now I feel like you're patronizing me.
I am.
All right, so it was very crunchy, so it was hard for people to get into because they couldn't understand the rules.
Yeah, but at the time, it was the only one.
Pathfinder of superhero games.
It was the only game on the block, though. So when it came out, of course, it was popular. I mean, it had a following like right away because it was like, hey, superheroes, and so people were jumping on board with that. So, the next big one is the superhero game, which is Heroes Champions. Came out in 1981, I do believe. And Champions,
I think it's just called Champions.
It's just called Champions.
Heroes Champions.
Well, Heroes is the name. Heroes is the name of the company. Hero
it's
Games.
Heroes apostrophe.
Yeah, Heroes Games or Hero Games or it became known as the Hero System because they took the system that they used to make the superhero game and they put out all kinds of different ones. It was a house set rules. But Champions was the next one to come out. And Champions was whereas in Villains and Vigilante, it had like a couple of different things that were kind of cool about it. Like one of the things is that your character was you. So if you were to make a character in Villains and Vigilantes, he would be Adam Zeidler. That's who he would be.
Can I share something here for the group?
Go ahead. I know
when I first started playing RPGs, and even today, like if I'm playing like a computer RPG, my character is always named Adam.
See, there you go. This doesn't surprise me at all because you're the guy that has a real hard time remembering anybody's name.
It's so hard for me. This is why one of the reasons I stopped acting, although every once in a while I do something. Most of the time I just play myself.
Yeah. And you can't remember lines.
Yeah.
That's besides the point.
I tried to do everything improv, but other people have a hard time with improv, so now I have to write it out. But then I realized, I can just improv my own lines.
That's right.
Once we're doing it, because I write it.
There it is. So, yeah. So, and another really cool little quirk on the Villains and Vigilantes is that your starting money, and I remember this because I was with my buddy Chucky. This is back when I was in. I got a copy of it back in middle school, and this is obviously I got a hold of this previous to Marvel coming out because there's no way I would have bought this thing if Marvel was already out. And I remember us going through to make characters. It was me and him, and it come to the part of your wealth, how much money your superhero has, and it says in there, superheroes are poor. How much money do you have in your pocket? That's how much money your superhero has. And I was like, and you're talking about I'm a kid in middle school. I'm like, I got $3.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So
I never have any cash.
Of course not. You're a modern man. You're
I don't like paper of any kind.
Oh gosh, you and your little anyway.
If Y2K really was a thing, I would have been fucked.
Yes, you would have.
I didn't have any money back then anyway, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah, right.
That's why everyone was so nervous. I'm like, what do I care? My bank had like 13 cents in it.
Right. I'll just go back to my mom and dad's house. So so when Champions comes along, Champions is actually a pretty ground-breaking system, besides the fact that it was superheroes, okay? Because when Champions comes around, you've already got Villains and Vigilantes, you got that Superhero 2044. I think there might have been one or two other, like, really small press ones that were put out there. But Champions, what they do, it is the first system that allows you to really customize your characters. And you get to it's a point buy system, which up until then didn't exist. You had the bulk of character creation was random. They gave you random tables and random rolls, and that gave you random stuff. Champions gave you points, and you bought stuff to build your character with these points. And then this is also where you see the invention of the advantage and disadvantage systems, and disadvantages coming in and allowing you to then use the disadvantages to purchase more points and use that to build the character. Really, really breaking stuff. And when Champions came out,
stop saying groundbreaking because you have a really tough time with it.
Well,
you've said groundbreaking twice.
I'm highly medicated right now, so that's part of it.
Like it sounds like I'm highly medicated around here.
It's like every time I take a lot of medication,
I've been mainline liquid morphine since 12 p.m.
What do they call those guys? Like a sideshow barker? That's what I'm turning into. But groundbreaking.
There you go. That was very well done.
And it essentially, boom, it had the market. Villains and Vigilante at the time wasn't really supported all that much. I think they maybe had a couple of supplements that came out for it. Mm-hmm. So when Champions hit, it took over superhero stuff, hands down. And it was really influential in a lot of other games, in a lot of other designers too, because this was the first system that allowed you to build, really. So,
like buildings and stuff.
No, like your character, however you want.
Builds,
yeah. You can build your character however you want and not have it be this random generated thing that you try to smoosh together. And so that was like really, really a big deal during the time because none of the other systems had done that. So, it allowed you to customize your powers. So basically they would have it be like, okay, you have a blast power that shoots like energy. Okay, well, then you add in all these different points and say, okay, well, I want it to be fire. So we're going to spend some points on making that into a fire thing. And I want it to be able to, whatever it hits, makes it burst into fire like a flamethrower. Okay, we're going to add some more points in to do that. So it allowed you to customize your powers within the system. It was awesome.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really
fun.
Their
MMO sucked, but this game sounds fun.
But
now, when did DC and Marvel get on the scene? Because
yes, that changes everything. Because
this is a leading question.
It is. Now, I will say, like, going up to that point before you get to, because this is still early in the superhero era, you still have Superworld comes out from Chaosium. Okay. Golden Heroes came from Games Workshop. Yep. And Palladium's came out. Superworld is in 82. Golden Heroes is 84. Palladium's 84. Champions release is the 3rd edition in 84. So these are all everybody trying to get into the market of superheroes. And this is, it really starts in the 80s because even though Villains Vigilantes came out in 79, when Champions came out, everybody took it seriously.
Well, because Champions seemed to be the only one that was actually a superhero role playing game.
Correct.
Versus the other one, which sounds like bullshit.
So what happens next is you had all these early editions of superheroes coming out, and Champions came out and got popular, and it became really popular. It got its new edition. I mean, it really, made some people sit up and pay attention. Of course, the number one person is TSR. Okay?
Sure, because they want all of the monies.
Yeah. In 84, TSR releases the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game, which will eventually be the basic set, and then later on comes the advanced.
86 or 85?
84 is.
No, I'm talking about the advanced set.
The advanced set, I want to say, yes, it's 86.
Which you can see every Friday night here on Wicked Studios LLC. Saturday morning. What did I say, Friday?
Yeah.
We record it on Fridays. You can't see it then, unless you come to one of our houses and hang out. You can see it Saturday mornings, called Saturday Morning Superheroes. Will DM is the judge.
That's right.
I play a mutant with wind powers named Gabriel Pine, a.k.a. Squall. And my good buddy Kemchan plays Jackson Briggs, another mutant, retired NYC PD cop, a.k.a. the superhero Mental. Not because he's fucking crazy, because he'll blow your mind. Anyway, check it out, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. On Saturdays, right here.
Good stuff. So, yeah.
This was all just a plug for that, so we can stop here, probably, right?
Probably, yeah. Hey, thanks for checking it out. in 84, Marvel comes out. Okay. DC's version, I'm pretty sure, is already
85.
in the work. 84.
Nope.
85 is
books
DC.
in front of me. 85 is DC. I'm saying
DC comes out in 85, the year after, and it was pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, it was already in the works. It just
it takes time to build these things.
It does. It does.
And
this changes everything. Okay, because now what you have is, and I should probably do that. Do I have the? No, I don't have the books. You've got books. Find your Marvel books.
I do have my Marvel books. They're right here.
Because when Marvel releases, when TSR releases the Marvel book, there we go.
I don't have the basic set, just the
that's the advanced, but it is playing superheroes that everybody knows,
right?
And
that's
having
what
access,
really wanted,
right? It was a big deal. Now, of course, like when people were playing Champions and what have you, they were already making these characters, but one of the things that we all know is that people are lazy, especially, dungeon masters or judges or game masters like myself. I'm one of them. Me. We want crutches. And if we were going to run that stuff, if it's already done for us, great. And the thing is that the Marvel system, unlike what was predominant on the market for superheroes at that time, because Champions, which was the number one game, which was crunchy. Okay. Now, DC, when they were doing their game, emulated some of that.
They did. I noticed that there's tables.
Yes, lots
in both.
Of tables.
There's D10s. Why did everyone just want to use D10s?
I wish I could tell you. Well,
because they were trying to do something. They wanted to be different. That seems to be the only reason you would do something that doesn't have that doesn't utilize all of the dice.
Well,
there's a lot
part
of
cool
how do you pronounce that? Polyhedral.
Polyhedral. One of the things that people would do is it depends, because you see, like, you had a lot of different game companies would have what is referred to as house rules. Okay, which is a game system that they just use those rules in whatever game they released. There is something good and something bad that comes out of that. If you're somebody who enjoys that rule set, like I enjoy Chaosiums a lot.
I don't know what that means.
Chaosium is a game manufacturer. They produce Call of Cthulhu, Pendragon, Rune Quest. Those are all Chaosium. And they have see. There's plenty of people watching this.
Yeah, exactly if you'd like to be a sponsor, I don't know why. You probably don't have enough money to do it, but we're cheap.
If you're a fan of that system, that's great, because then you can bring other people in. But it also excludes people who are not a fan of that system. So you can lose initial sales. So larger companies that could weather the storm on that, like ATSR, don't really use a house rule. They devise rule sets for all their new games and stuff. And it's a good thing that they did, because the Marvel system was simplicity at its best. It was a great, quick, easy system, and it's really good for superheroes.
I'll tell you what, and I was a little hesitant about trying it, except for the fact that it was a Marvel superheroes game. But when I was first looking into it, when we were talking about starting Saturday morning superheroes, I didn't know, because I hadn't played other role-playing systems. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I played different versions of Dungeons and Dragons, 2E, 3E, 5E. But that was it. And I like that system. I like the D20. I like to use all the other dice that I have.
Right.
And here I'm cutting it down to, a percentile die, basically. And every once in a while, just a D10. But you could just use, if you have one D10, you can play this game.
That's true.
And I didn't know how I was going to like it, because I didn't have all these other dice. That being said, I think it really does. And part of it is the system, and part of it is just how the game is set up. And the DC one seems like it's similar to that, because even though I have the damn thing, I've never actually played it, because maybe we'll do a one-shot one time.
I'd be down for that. You going to run it?
Sure.
All right, cool. I'm down.
I say this. How many times have I said I'm going to run something and I still haven't?
A lot. That's why I did that.
So yeah, sure.
Yeah, it takes nothing to say yes.
We'll get there one day. but it does free you up
Mm-hmm.
to do whatever you want to do. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful in doing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But especially, and I think, that's one thing that Dungeons and Dragons, especially in combat, like when you're not in combat, you can do whatever you want in D&D, and that's great. But when you're in combat, there's not a lot of options when you think about it, the way the rules that are set up. And that's why you can get, and sometimes combat can be a little tedious because it's hit, miss, hit, miss, hit, miss.
You got it.
So, and I try to, depending on the kind of character I play, like now playing Shay in, because I'm just going to use this should be called the plug show.
Yeah, there you go.
In Greyhawk Adventures, the Ghost of Saltmarsh, playing Shay 2 weeks ago in reality, when we were fighting those fish dudes.
Yeah.
I tried to do some, to spice it up the combat a little bit with my guy and have him, jump off a table, try to kick 2 guys at once, that kind of thing. Because otherwise it can get a little boring. Just, I swing, I miss, I swing, I hit, and whatever.
Yes.
Whereas with this system, the Marvel system, and again, it looks like the DC system stole a lot of that. Hard to say because they might have been in development beforehand. We don't know the details. But it looks like they have a lot of the same types of stuff on there. But it kind of it lets you just do whatever you can think of based on the powers that your character has.
Right.
You can always try something different. And then eventually, like you said, of the other game, the Champions game, you can develop those powers.
Yeah, that's front
well.
end. On the front end in Champions, it gives you a lot of freedom, and then when you get into the actual rolling of things, then it's a lot more structured than say like the Marvel superhero game.
Yeah, Marvel, because I think by that very streamlined system, it allows for just more role playing the character, including the fights.
Yeah. Jeff Grubb did a great job with devising a system that allowed the flavor of superhero comic books to come through.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much.
And whoever made the DC game did a good job of copying them.
There you go.
I'm trying to look and see who it is, but it doesn't really say. There's an M in like a shield on the box.
Yeah, that's Mayfair's logo.
Mayfair?
That's the name of the company.
Mayfair, you got just what I need. That one was on the House Mayfair, but if you want to be a sponsor, you just let us know.
Excellent.
So, are superhero games true to that comic book feel?
Some are very true to it. Some not so much. You've got one. If it's the Palladium game, I think it was Heroes Unlimited. Mm-hmm. One of their biggest gripes is that it capped out, and it didn't allow you for higher end superheroes. So you did.
D&D kind of does that with that 20 level cap.
Yeah, and basically what it was is you didn't really have Superman in the Heroes Unlimited game. That's the hard part of a superhero role-playing game is how do you have a rule set that allows you to incorporate all these different types of superheroes, and in the comic books you have different categories, and some of those categories, those superheroes are just way more powerful than the other ones, and so they struggle with that. They struggle to give you a good system that allows all that to be incorporated.
But it seems like Marvel, and again, we've only played a few sessions of this so far. Mm-hmm. I think they've done a pretty good job with it because on paper, you would think that my character is a lot more powerful than Kem Chan's character. But
maybe.
I mean, just like physical prowess in all forms,
right?
And I think that's something that Kem Chan has always struggled being friends with me. Is
oh my god! Anyway,
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
If you've seen Kem Chan, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he can slap you around real easy.
Oh yeah. But but again, I think because there's definitely like different the different powers that they have. There's advantages and disadvantages, and luckily we actually picked two characters that sort of complemented each other pretty well.
Yes.
But it seems like there's even if you're and we don't have anybody that's like a Superman or like an Incredible Hulk level strength or anything even close to that. So maybe it was kind of hard. I don't know, how can you roll one of those? I don't.
Yes, you can. The thing is that well, it depends on how you pick the characters to make them. It is really hard out of the gates
to
make them. You can advance them into those realms, though.
Okay.
But Marvel, I think now we're talking because there's been multiple editions of Marvel, but the original TSR version of it, one of the things I think that they did well with was to just say, no, this character can't do that to this character or so forth, and just incorporated it in there because really that's how it should be. They have that 3-column shift rule where it says it's optional, but everybody that I know always used it, where it's like, well, if you're 3-column shifts below me, guess what? You're not really going to be able to affect me. Because I just outclass you so much, which is the way it should be. There's no way in hell that Aunt May should be able to go over and slap, the Hulk. Yeah, or anybody, and have it be effective. Yeah.
Even another old woman. So, although I have to say, I do think my favorite Aunt May is Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei, call me.
No, she's too busy talking to me.
So, how popular are superhero RPGs?
Actually, they're still very popular, and I think it's always been a thing
compared to D&D.
No, if we're gonna talk about in the realm of popular role playing games, okay, as far as genre goes, fantasy
by far number one
dominates. Yes, and
I would say, from what I've seen, the horror genre maybe number two. No, horror genre it's probably a tie.
Pirates. I would say sci-fi is probably going to be your number two. And then right behind that, I would say superhero and horror are vying for the third spot. Okay. And then you get into all the other different stuff that's out there. But
I don't know about that. In today's culture, like that Vampire the Masquerade thing. By the way, you can watch Vampire Masquerade game. Wicked. This is the plug show. Windy City Kindred, Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. We've got your Saturdays covered here, guys.
There you go. Yeah. Well, now you have to understand that a lot of those, it might be starting to get a comeback.
Like even in like the 90s, like that.
It was huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
Horror was hands down number 2 in the 90s. That goes without a doubt.
I haven't really I'm like stuck in the 90s.
Well,
all the music I listened to.
Yeah.
My wardrobe.
Everything. Yeah. I'm kind of a 80s/90s guy. I'm late 80s, early 90s. That's my realm. Yeah. If you can take me from like 85 to 95, I'm happy. There you go. That's
I'm me. 95 to 2000. Like that's my era. Is running a superhero game the same as running Dungeons and Dragons?
No, not even close.
You didn't even know what I was going to say. You anticipated.
Yeah, I knew what you were going to say.
We should call you mental because you just read my mind.
Yeah, because I knew where you were going with that. Hell,
you wrote the question.
Not. Yeah, that's true. It is hands down way different because for one, and this is one of the things that, and I'll throw this out as a recommendation to people. If you're playing, okay, and your group has a tendency to kind of wander around into the murder hobo way of doing business.
I think we should have an episode on murder hobos because I think that word gets thrown around in ways that isn't accurate.
I'm sure it does.
And I think you use it inaccurately sometimes.
100% accurate all the time. He didn't even know what the hell the word meant until I told him.
That's not true. I just hadn't heard it before. I figured it out.
There you go.
But
But
I think that the way I figured it out, I assume is the right way to use it.
so if you've got a group that is full of a bunch of like murder hobos or people who are more on the edge, kind of, they're in it for the combat or whatever, you might want to try playing a superhero game. And the reason I say that is
That sounds counter and
you would think, but the mindset
intuitive.
of people, unless the first thing out of their minds is, hey, can we all be villains? Because then they're just die hard. That's just who they are, and you just have to roll with it. But it is a lot different in the fact that people will generally accept the fact that they're heroes. So that means the cynicism that is generally in a lot of the D&D characters is gone. They realize that their job is to help their fellow man.
Going with this.
Yeah, and
you just Jedi mind tricked me.
I did, and that is one thing that it's definitely noticeable. It is a different mindset. It is a different way of role playing, and it's not your traditional. There's a dungeon, you go. The number one reason to play the game isn't like in like a fantasy setting where the bulk of that is we go on the quest, we get paid, we do this, we slay the evil dragon. So forth.
Yeah, this you the whole point is being heroic in a superhero.
Is being heroic is because you've made that decision that with great power comes great responsibility, aka
that was wow. That was really deep, Will.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else must have said it at one time.
It's amazing. The things you come up with just out of nowhere, off the top of your head.
I'm pretty good. That's what it is.
It's deep. No one's ever said that before, and that's brilliant.
Nope. I should trademark that. But the it is different. It is very different, and how you structure things. NPCs become super more important in a superhero game than they are in a D&D game. And by NPCs, I'm not just talking about the guy down at the local Radio Shack who's going to sell you some transistors that you're going to build your super
really
detecting
are stuck
device.
In the 80s, dude.
I know, right? So, but you need to have your J. Jonah Jamesons. You have to have this whole cast because these people who generally, for the most part, almost all of them, superhero games take place in the modern day. Right. So your characters have an alternate identity that needs to be populated with people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because you need to populate the world for both identities.
Exactly.
Which is something you don't have to do in a D&D world. So it's important that the superhero has those friends, that the family, the other contacts throughout, the foils as a regular person versus the foils, which are the villains as a superhero. And those villains also have secret identities as well, so you can't make them one-dimensional also.
Yeah, and that's basically that's the game duplicating what has come before in the comic books themselves.
Right.
The comic books themselves, the ensemble or the supporting cast is a really big part.
Right. They're just as important as the superhero.
Now, there is still a ton of superhero games that are coming out
that we don't have time to talk about. So what we will end it with, what superhero game is best for me?
Oh,
because there's Mutants and Masterminds.
Mutants and Masterminds,
which I hear is good.
Yeah,
and then that's the only
City
other
of
one
Mist.
City of Mist is a new one. Yeah,
City of Vigilantes, if I'm not mistaken. That's another new one. Could be. There's the Palladium still has their superhero books that are around. There was a DC version that came out not that long ago through Green Ronin. I mean, there's a ton.
There's updated Marvel one that came out in the 90s, I want to say.
Oh, there's been a lot more.
2000.
Yeah, there's been a lot more since then. I think currently Marvel is in between RPG publishers, if I'm not mistaken.
So now's your chance if you want to purchase a
jump
RPG
in on that
system.
Stuff. Yeah, I think basically what it comes down to.
If anybody would sponsor us, maybe we could do it. If anybody would sponsor, not one person, not one of you.
Eventually, I would have to say is it comes down to when dealing with superhero games, you have two types. You've got the crunch versus the story driven, and you have to basically answer which you would prefer. If you want it more streamlined, quicker, easier, Then you could get like Savage Worlds, Fate system. Both of those allow you to play superheroes. To my understanding, like City of Mist, that runs off of the Power of the Apocalypse. That's another of a more simpler system. That one's maybe medium-ish.
Or check
But
out
then
some of the old school DC
some of the
and
old
Marvel
school
games.
ones, yeah. You can totally get all of the old school Marvel stuff out there online.
You can get the
There
DC
are,
stuff too, and the DC stuff's cheaper.
yeah. Well, not just even buying physical copies of it through eBay or whatnot. There's a website, Classical Marvel Forever, that has all of the original TSR Marvel stuff available for you to go and use.
So there's no reason not to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, put down in the comments below, what superhero games have you played? Have you not played them? Will you not play them? Why not? Even I did it.
He's still doing
I
it.
can do it. You can do it. Use
Still.
me as an example, as a role model, if you will.
I would have to definitely say do not use Adam as a role model.
On that note,
Find somebody else.
for Will DM, I'm Adam. This has been a super edition of the Down Roll.
Super genius.
Did I just blow your mind with that double entendre?
He's good. He's very good.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.